Okay, so I'm just going to do a little short update today. My phone's at like 34%, and there's been a lot going on, so I just thought I would do a little post. The most exciting part is after 2 months almost, she went missing on the 22nd. I guess I should flip this. So Little Miss Thing has returned. And this is the first time I've locked her in the office with me. But nevertheless, hey, there's my rainbow. Nevertheless, yeah, she's locked in here now. I figure since she's been gone for 2 months, she's going to, after I make sure all the burrs are out of her hair. I've spent like 45 minutes working on that. But she was also laying in my lap and not wanting to move anywhere. So I was trying to be easy on that since I don't want to stress her out any further than she's already been for the last 2 months. But we were pulling burrs out the entire time. So I didn't get all of them. I know that I have not got all of them because I haven't gotten the chance to work on her legs and her belly yet. But since we spent a lot of time working on it, giving her a little time to kind of chill, get used to being with the pack again. So luckily everybody took to her pretty well. The ladies with the rescue that helped us trap her said that they might be kind of iffy. The only thing was Big Mouth Taz did not want to stop barking in my ear. But he's chilled out now. This dude is feeling chatty. He's talking to his food bowl, so that's what his deal is, since he keeps jabbering. His bowl is metal, and I've thought about kind of sanding it down so he can't see his reflection as much, but I haven't done that yet. So he's flirting with himself. But yeah, so it's been kind of an interesting week because my mom went to the dentist. And of course, you know, that's the guy she used to babysit and like the only dentist I trust. And of course, you know, we graduated like all the things together. We graduated elementary school together, middle school, high school, and college. There was the general graduation ceremony for everybody, and then there were the individual schools. That part we did not have the same because he's a dentist and I'm not. But my schools were both, like, I don't remember what the category was for it, but it was like my psychology and religious studies, they both went in together, so there was at least that. But anyway, so I want to say Friday, because it's Monday now. She had an appointment, and he asked if we'd found my dog yet, because I was the one that posted everywhere, right? I was the one that put the flyer together, printed off the flyers, though I made my mom go along for that process since it was supposed to be her dog. But then like all the posting on Facebook, that was largely me. Like I was the one looking in the different lost and found pet groups and all that stuff. So everybody thinks it's, you know, just mine. So when she said that the other day, I said, because you didn't look, right? And she couldn't deny that because I was the one that did all the posting. So, you know, she would get on there and comment every now and then, but like other than that, she hadn't been looking at all. She hadn't been reposting it anywhere or any of that stuff. She'd just like go wherever I'd been and then occasionally respond to comments. So after I made that comment about because I was the one that was looking, so he thinks it's my dog, she posted it again, but I don't think that ended up being where it came from. Her friend that lives like a mile and a half away from us sent her a message. I don't know. I think she saw it on Facebook. Somebody had posted that there was a dog at these apartments in the direction we didn't realize. You know, we knew it was a possibility she could go there, but we didn't really think that she would. But that's where she ended up. Don't know how long she's been there, obviously. We just, because the last sighting was November 23rd. That was just kind of the only other thing we had to go on was the two animal communicators that both said she was in a house with a puppy. But she still had the fall bandana on when we brought her home. I just took it off of her a little bit ago and went ahead and threw it in the trash. I figure she doesn't need those memories sticking around with her, so we just went ahead and pitched that one. But it was kind of funny because, okay, so my mom did link up with a rescue once, somebody had said that they posted this, or that they found this dog running around. She was eating with some stray cats. So we had a general idea where she was at. So we went over there the other night after the lady said that she had posted it. Thought it was like an Australian Shepherd or something, but of course it's Sheltie, but close. So, went and kind of looked at the area, and like it was a decent section of wooded stuff next to some apartment houses. So we went to Walmart yesterday. Terrible idea going on a Sunday, but alas, the dog, we were asked about, or the dentist asked about her on Friday, and then Saturday there's suddenly a sighting again, and then yesterday, since we knew approximately where she was, we went and got a bag of cheapy dog food, figuring, you don't know what else going to be eating it, so we just got the cheap stuff, so, at least she would be inclined to stay in the area. And I just, scattered it around a few different spots where it was, there's, places for her to hide behind, so, nobody would necessarily see her if she was in there, because cannot chase this one. Cannot chase her at all. So, scattered food through there. And then my uncle, despite being asked several times not to go scouting for her, did end up over there for a while and did see her and said he thought there was a barn back there that he thought she might be in or around. Thankfully, after the people with the rescue that my mom had been talking to on the Facebook group also said, don't chase, don't go to her safe spot. Do not run her out of the safe spot, right? We've seen her, or somebody's seen her, so we would like her to stay in that area. So they showed up, or they were able to show up today with the cage. And of course they had chicken and God only knows what, Vienna sausages, all sorts of weird stuff. It was a nasty concoction. But they came in their SUV and had a couple cages, and of course she's a little one, but they were also going to another place this afternoon to try to catch a shepherd mix of some sort or something. But since, they talked to my mom, and my mom said she's been gone for 2 months, and this is the first sighting that we've had since November 23rd, they prioritized that one. So we met them over there, and then I, pointed out where the barn was, and they asked if we knew how to get to the barn. It's I think I figured out where the road was earlier. We went back there. My mom and I went and knocked on the people's house because there were 3 cars in the driveway. Nobody answered. And apparently my mom said something about, I guess she sent a message to my uncle's girlfriend, and she said that they were there for a while knocking, trying to get somebody to come. Nobody came, so they didn't figure anybody was probably home. Well, it was the same situation, 3 cars in the driveway and nobody's answering the door. So, since we knew where she was, and they were pretty sure she was in the barn, they went and set the trap up, and of course put the chicken and everything in it. And, she had all the resources. There's the place where the feral cats were being fed. There was a little creek next to the driveway of this place, or a ditch or something, but it had a decent amount of water in it, so it seemed more creek-like than just ditch. So she had water. She had a little cozy space, I guess, because she had straw in her hair. Not a whole bunch, but a little bit. Mainly just furs. So as soon as we saw her, they asked my mom if they thought it was her dog. And Mom said, I think so. And then I looked at her, and just the way she took off when I was looking at her, it's like, that's definitely her. So they got the trap set, put a camera up where they could see it on the door, and then went back, and I think it was like within 10 minutes they caught her. So she is back in the house. We did not get her out of the cage until she was in the house, so my three had to go outside, and I had my dad hold Pepper to keep her out of the way of the people coming in. She doesn't hear a whole lot, so she didn't even pay attention to the fact that anybody was in there. Of course, I told my dad not to let her go until I told him to let her go. And then I just, when they opened the cage, of course she went the other way, stuck her butt in the chicken stuff they still had in there. It's like she wanted to eat it, but then at the same time, she was afraid because there was so much other stuff going on. And they, she started going toward the gate, but then backtracked when, they're standing there. So they asked about if somebody could get down there. It's like, that's literally only me. Like my mom and dad, they might be able to get down on the floor, but they might not get back up. So it's like, let alone in the crate to bring the dog out. So anyway, once she got out, she just, I leaned back against the cabinet, and she, had her head on my leg, and I just sat there and pet her and was trying to work on getting some of the burrs out that I could easily. And that was all fine and dandy. And of course, I checked my phone at 3:33 because that's what I do. I don't know. Like, I've been feeling like, obviously this hasn't been a good situation. But it's like, before, when we had her, I was afraid of spending too much time and effort on her because I didn't want her to get too attached to me. And then, whenever I move out of this place, she has to stay behind, right? So it's like, how do I navigate this space? And like, I think the biggest thing is I'm just going to have to do it because I know my parents will not. And I have told them time and again that I knew that they weren't going to do it, which is why, and I've said many times, this is why I told you not to get another dog, because I knew it was all going to be on me, right? But she's at least back, so there is that. I don't know. But this is at least a happy update. The less oh fuck, my grandma's coming over. Why? She doesn't even care about the dog. Why the fuck does my aunt need to bring her over? Anyway, so I gotta wrap this up quick. Anyway, I will say, the other day when I went to class, hey, sir, I dropped my phone and it hit the quartz crystal that I was sitting next to. So my screen is cracked, and depending on where I'm, like, there is a green line that comes straight down. It's right there, but you can't see it on your side. But it's like the entire, all the way down to where the crystal hit. And then honestly, it looks like a bullet hole. But straight down from that and straight across, all the way across my phone, it's like this weird line. So it's like, it's not great, but yeah, it's definitely cracked. So, there's that little bit. And the other little quick update before these crazy old women get here, is I've been writing and it's been going really good. So there was a little bit of snag one day, and I got to this point where it's like, I had gone to class a couple weeks ago, right? A week and a half ago. And somebody asked me if I'd been seeing scarab beetles. And it's like, no, not that I've noticed. But then, of course, it's not something that I'm going to notice because we don't really have those in abundance around here, right? So it's like, anytime it comes up, it's an image on something, right? There's something on TV or whatever. So I just didn't register. But I started on this tangent talking to this girl about, like, feeling connected to Egyptian mythology a lot, and you know how Horus and Ra and all these things have consistently appeared for me, right? So, you know, we're talking about that. Okay, so then I get to this point where it's like I'm realizing I'm struggling with the writing process. You know, and I mentioned that I kind of, you know, it's kind of the whole counterpart stuff came up. It's like, put this on the back burner, can't deal with this right now, right? And when I was, I really don't want them to come over. When they know my mom and dad aren't here, so why do they need to be here? But anyway, so I had like these visions where it's like my counterpart kept appearing before me, and I would like sidestep and avoid it. And then, you know, it got to a point where I was kind of struggling with the writing end of things. But it's like, just with everything, I can't think about this right now, right? But then after I talked to Kennedy, and she was talking about the scarab beetles, then I started connecting, like all these things just started coming back about how that connection is linked up to all this like Egyptian stuff that has been following me, right? Like at the start of this journey, I had this, I was doing a meditation, and in it, it's like I was in this room, which is my office. Now it was my bedroom at the time, but there was like minimal furniture in it at that point in time. But so I'm like very aware that it's like this aqua green lighting, right? And it's like that's the only color in the space. And I look up and I see the Egyptian god Horus, or somebody dressed as the Egyptian god Horus in front of me. And then when I look down, there's a table in front of me, and it has a note or a letter addressed to me, right? So obviously it says Sarah. I'm going to look at it, right? So I look at it, and like the message on the letter says, "Soon, my love." And so that was like the start point, and like just all the connections with like the different, they're just little things that I've been connecting with the counterpart connection and this, you know, Horus and Ra stuff. And I'm not going to go into that because they're going to be here anytime. But I had this day last week where I realized like I was really struggling with the writing. And it was in this time frame where I was feeling bad again about like the family situation. Do I really have to disconnect fully? And the answer to that is yes. I absolutely do. Because, you know, I had this realization. It's like, all right, so I cannot get to the new life that I want, where, you know, the friends and the good things, the house, you know, that is not this one. It's not me living with my parents. Like those things exist in this other timeline that I have to disconnect completely from the old timeline to get to. And I say that because there was something that came up, and it was really just struggling on this point. And I don't even remember what it was specifically that triggered it, but I was thinking, she might not have, they might have delayed because I didn't respond. But anyway, so something triggered me with the connection, right? Something like somehow he came up. I don't know if it was like a vision that I had, that, you know, but I found myself really being aware of this, this point that if I'm going to commit to that pathway, it involves getting rid of this one. Because for me to get to where I need to be going, or where I want to be going, I have to fully lean into my authentic truth. The only way I do that with, you know, the book writing thing is not worry about how upset my family is going to be when I am fully the true authentic version of me. And when I am not afraid to talk about the stuff that's going to piss them off, that I owned up to it, or that, you know, that I flat out called out the fact that a lot of this shit's a problem, right? Like my entire journey through on this channel has been trying to navigate through the stuff that my family's left me to heal from, right? So it's like I can't fully embrace my truth and fully lean into that, my authenticity, if I'm still in any way worried about what's going to happen with the whole family situation. But, yeah, so, I don't remember exactly what it was, but something came up where I was sitting at my desk and I think I was writing and I was like, I commit to this connection fully, whatever that means, however scary that looks. A big part of it is because, fucking text message popped up and I lost it. For my authentic truth, that includes, the thing that has been that little, okay, so I started the first section where I was writing and I was like talking about this thing that happened when I was 4, right? So the callback to the Somewhere Out There song and the connection. And then I mentioned that there, that little spark of hope has always been there. But that also that I would end up losing it almost completely. And then that was kind of my start point was, whereas at the space of I wanted to have hope in this real thing being out there and in existence, but at the same time I was afraid to, because my entire life has demonstrated that it's not, right? And I think I started on, or at some point last week I was writing about a sticking point. It's like, this is something that I've talked about every time I've tried to write, and I've gotten so stuck that I couldn't get out of it. And then I get stuck back in those heavy, dense feelings and couldn't go any further. And it's like, what I realized last week when I was writing was I've spent my whole life dissociating, right? So it's like the reason I was struggling with the story that I was trying to tell is because like I had told my class the week before, anytime something got scary or looked contradictory to what I was believing, I would throw everything away. It's like, nope, this is wrong. So, just get rid of all of it because clearly I'm too stupid to figure it out or whatever. But what I realized was every time I was throwing everything away, that's chipping more and more away at myself. So in the environment that I was in where it wasn't safe, I was dissociating. So I was disconnecting so far from myself that I couldn't make sense of how things fit together, which is why the YouTube channel has been important. But, right, so, so I returned to the commitment for whatever this is meant to be and trusting. It's like one of the things that I've been thinking about is how extensively all over the place this connection has been and guiding me forward. And I've realized that a big part of that is because I have dissociated so far from myself that, trying to piece it all back together, when I've continued to catch myself and feel like I couldn't go any further because I didn't know, because ultimately because the divine guidance doesn't look, I've always picked up on the energies around me, and I've always struggled with having confidence in myself, because what I didn't understand earlier is because energies can change, right? This is why you can have you can get a psychic reading, and if somebody says, I don't like that answer, and then they change how they're doing things, it means that that's not going to happen anymore. But at the time that, fuck's sake, they're here. I'm going to pause this and hopefully be able to come back to it. Okay, so it's exactly as annoying as I thought it would be. My aunt was looking at her and saying, well, she looks like she's just ready to take a nap now. It's like, if you look at her, she's not relaxed. She's very much stressed out. It's like she's in shutdown mode because you're hovering. But anyway, she brought treats, so well, this thing's probably going to have the poops, but at least she's eating now, and she's drinking water like she hasn't seen it in forever. But anyway, so what was I talking about before that? it was with the, okay, so the scarab beetles thing and like, just, okay, the dissociating. I think that's what I was. I think it was just that realization that like every time I've run away, it was like scattering myself further around so I couldn't find me, kind of a thing, right? And so this whole journey is like some of the things that have happened. It's like some of it's like ridiculous stuff too, where it's like so obviously in my face now that I'm ready to see it. Like essentially like God was getting ready for the time where I would, start trying to put myself back together, right? So the means of helping me to find myself again is putting like a whole lot of obvious signs, and like now it's how obvious do you need it before you believe it, kind of a thing. And I feel like that's like the whole purpose of it, right? So I scattered myself around as far as I possibly could. I was dissociating and trying to force myself to shrink into what the world was telling me I had to fit in to be safe, right, or acceptable. And so my signs have to be loud and in my face, and they're everywhere, right? So like even down to dude's initials are in my name, right? And like the vehicle I drove, or the vehicles I drove while I was living with my ex. See, that's something, since I've been writing a lot, I started, what the hell, man? Come crashing in like the Kool-Aid man. Yes. Okay, come on then, Ziva. Ziva, come on, stay. Get in here. She's like, why are we shutting the door again? So now I don't have to hold on to this damn leash that everybody keeps tripping on. But yeah, like, okay, so it's like the universe is making it obvious. So then, when I'm trying to figure out if I'm onto something or if I'm just like completely delusional and making it up, it's like so completely obviously everywhere. And then it follows me for a while. So yeah. Anyway. So I recommitted to the connection, right? And then I found this video, Serena's Life After Union, where the topic was like signs you'll notice, like 3D and 5D signs that you might notice before before union happens, right? And one of the things that she was talking about, she did a episode with her husband, and they said that like one of the biggest things is something comes up that makes the runner twin have to commit like to the connection. Like, are you going to go through with this, or are you going to go run away again? So when this whole the thing with the picture with the girl showed up, right, and like suddenly it's like everything is wrong, and kind of ready to throw it away, and then I'm having these visions where it's like I'm walking towards him and then I like step out of the way and go around him, kind of a thing. It's like if I make it a habit to keep dodging that, and it's always going to be there because this is an aspect of me that we are talking about. So if I keep trying to dodge him in these visions, it's essentially continuing that running away from myself, and which makes none of the rest of it possible to happen because I'm acting like a fool, right? So yeah, so whatever, I don't remember exactly what it was last week that came up, and then it was like, I just had this moment where it's like I commit to whatever this connection is, or wherever it's supposed to go and meant to be completely. I'm ready to Hey! It's alright. They'd be stuck up on her. Ziva, it's alright. Oh, shit, let me come over here and sit next to the children now that we're grumpy. Yeah. Leave it, Taz. I really wish you would stop. I'm gonna throw you out of this room. Stop. Stop. I will throw you out. I have a ball on my foot. I got a boob on my leg. Taz is a boob. Stop. We'll come back over here. That's not gonna work. Stop. She hasn't been in this room much since, even before she would come in here when I had food, but then she'd run out. So this is the first time she's been contained in here. But anyway, so, like something came up and then it's like, okay, so I commit to this connection, whatever it is, whatever it's meant to be. And I actually had this thing, let me see if I can find it now. I wrote it the other night because I had this night where I was, just kind of dealing with the stress of the thing, right? Now, the book the point is following the hope. It's the thing that has kept me moving even when I haven't wanted to because everything else is hard or too scary, right? So the book, which goes back to when I was an undergrad and read the books by Eric and Leslie Ludy. That was When God Writes Your Love Story, When God Writes Your Life Story. And I decided that I wanted that, right? And then in 2023, when I recommitted to that, it's like, whatever's meant to happen, turning my love and career lives over to the universe to take the lead on, because obviously I made a hot mess of everything. And, I don't want that responsibility. We're going to let the universe make it happen. Right. And okay, let me see. I think there was, okay. So what I wrote was, what benefit would it be for the universe for me to commit my love and career, for it to lead on, and then for it to render me a fool in front of everyone? But what would be the gain for it if I followed the guidance and it turns out to be right? If I follow the nudges and do the hard thing, to have all of me for the world to potentially see and be met with humiliation, why would anyone trust their intuitive voice if humiliation is all to be expected? But if I follow the guidance and am later rendered to be proven right, wouldn't that make others more inclined to want to see that the universe potentially, or see what the universe has potentially in store for them as well? I just have to be crazy enough to believe the guidance and follow it through. It never once said it would be easy. Easy was never the point of all of this. Gaining room for others to have hope in what's in store has always been in the greater plan and intention. Throughout my life, I have always set these intentions for the big crazy things, but I had to see the failures of those things before I could appreciate the successes of them. And I had to experience the hopelessness of it in order to really be confident in leaning into the hope. And that's what this is ultimately. It looks hopeless. It looks like he's got a girlfriend in spite of everything you believed all along. How can you still believe? Crazy hope in the realization that this has all been divinely orchestrated all along. Even when I have no reason on the surface to remain hopeful, I know that this version of me flat out does not exist without this connection being the thing that's kept me moving every step of the way. And that is everything. Right, so that's where I'm at now, right? But anyway, so once I recommitted to the connection, which of course, it's leaning more fully into, I don't know, this is going to make it better or worse. And there is a glare on my phone crack, so I don't know if you can see this, duplicate window over here that I am seeing on my screen. But I can, so it's I don't really know where to go. Anyway, where's I going with that? Oh, the writing thing, right? So once I recommitted to the connection and recommitted to the project, I started leaning in on it opened me up to writing about the hard stuff with my family. Now, not all of it immediately, and it's been a process, but it started flowing real well. And let me see if I can. I had this thing on here the other day. I had just a series of notes that I had on my remember what it was. Anyway, like, I put like a big thing across the top of haven't touched on the family stuff yet. And it's like, once I recommitted to the path and the connection, then it's like it just opened up, right? So it's the point of I have to be fully in my authentic truth on the crazy belief of the connection, even though it doesn't look like anything's going to happen of it, because I've still never met this dude, right? So there's that point. But also the point of the full authenticity in using my true voice involves owning up to the stuff with my family. And there is no way that I can own up to the stuff with my family fully without pissing them off. And there's just not, right? And then either way, once the book's out there, they're going to know that this YouTube thing is out there. And then they'll probably be more inclined to want to nose around and figure out what the hell I've been doing the past several months. And there again, they won't be happy, right? So it's basically, the point is they're not going to be happy, and I have to be okay with that. But there are enough other people that can benefit from what I've learned through my whole journey with the difficult stuff with my family, especially, that makes it worth it. So even if it's hard and scary, and even though, like, I think that's the biggest thing where it gets kind of hairy, is knowing that my family's probably not going to want anything to do with me as soon as they know about the book and have read the book, and then, want to tear me apart because they didn't agree with it or whatever, which is irrelevant, because they're going to know that some of those things happened. They might not know of all the things that happened, but and they might not want to believe it, but the fact that there's enough of it that I have evidence for, right? Like, and that's like the biggest thing too, like part of the whole journey. Like, I think the book that I'm currently writing, there are gaps, right? Because I still have not met this person. However, the connection is literally the thing that's pulling me along. And it's because it's that unifying the two aspects of myself, right? So I've talked a lot about how I've always, felt myself in the, basically locked in the distorted feminine aspect, right? So I over-identified with the feminine, and then was told by life in various ways that I needed something outside of myself to save me, right? Oh, I had this vision the other day. So the Horus and Ra stuff, right? So Horus is the left eye, which is, that the left is the feminine side and the right is the masculine side. So the eye of Horus is on the left side, right? And then the eye of Ra is on the right. And when I was thinking about it the other day, just like there was like a bunch of details that went into it, but I had this vision where, and I think I mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned it in a video. I don't know when the last time I did a video was. I think it was the day after class. But I don't remember what I talked about since then. I've been writing a lot, so it all runs together. But, there are enough, okay. Essentially, the writing project that I'm doing currently, and I think I've wandered off from where I started to wander to, so I don't remember where that was. Sorry, this is a hot mess since my family got in the middle of everything. But because of the things that are pulling me forward. Oh, the masculine feminine thing. Okay. So what I saw was my counterpart holding the vision, right? But I saw him as the, the embodiment of the protective energy, right? Protective and healing, because, he's holding the vision, right? So, and I'm going up here because we're talking third eye stuff. And of course, the eye of Ra and the eye of Horus, and that's not necessarily third eye, but how I was seeing it in the vision was at the third eye. And he's essentially holding space like the yin yang that I have in my bedroom, where I talked about how it came across my path one day, and it was on Etsy, and it was just like the white boundary stood out to me. And at the time, I felt like I was scattered all over the place and not able to, like, I had no boundary, right? Like, there was no end. Like, I was just getting pulled into all the chaos. But then I see the yin yang on this Etsy ad, and what I saw that stood out to me was the white border around it. And then as I looked at it, it's like, there's been a border there the whole time. I just wasn't aware of it because my life taught me that it wasn't there. So it's kind of that illusion. And then, I'll talk about this dude too. I found the statue at Inner Path when I was there. I think it was last year. And it was the same thing. It's like I saw it, and of course the guy's got the wings, and it's called Guardian Angel. But when I saw it, it's like, this is this connection, right? It's like, I finally realized that there is a boundary there. I just didn't realize it was there, right? Because everything's taught me to not see it. Sorry, I got a bunch of rocks on my desk. Because my life taught me that I wasn't supposed to have boundaries. It was people pulling at me and pulling at my energy so they can essentially deplete my life force, and I was just supposed to go along with it. So then I see the yin yang, and it's like, oh, there is a boundary there, and then I see this angel, and it's like, that feels like, there is protection, right? I am shielded. It's like, I just didn't realize it. So now that I can realize it, I can kind of sit back and lean into that point. So then I was thinking about him as on the Eye of Horus side, the left side, which of course is the feminine aspect. But in this way, because musicians and creatives in general have to be able to tap into the flow state. The flow state is feminine. Excuse me. So while I was just like flowing everywhere, not thinking I had any boundaries until I started seeing the boundaries, then, once I saw the boundaries, it's like, oh, so I don't have to just pour myself out for everybody, right? I started leaning into the connection more and recognizing that protective element is there. So then I'm thinking about the Eye of Horus is the protective element. And of course, since creatives want to tap into the flow state, that's holding the vision for this divine connection that, even when it might not look like anything, right? So we don't have anything to go on except for our intuition that the connection is there. So I saw him as the protective energy, and he's holding space for the vision. He's holding space for me to find that safety, right? Because that's been one of the biggest things that I've had to navigate through, is feeling that sense of safety, right? And realizing there is a level of protection. I just have to lean more into it, and it's part of this coming into unity with both aspects of myself. So since flow state is feminine, that's where that's on the Eye of Horus side. So he's holding the vision for the connection, and the divine masculine is also the side that is responsible for bringing things into the physical. So then I started thinking about this picture that I saw him in, right? With this girl. And I started thinking about, it actually makes sense that if I'm looking for safety, he's connecting with somebody in his physical space around him where he is able to have this connection that is to demonstrate that he is a safe person, right? So he's not somebody that's just going to take from anybody, right? That's not what he's doing. So his thing is proving that it's not it doesn't have, that connections don't have to be codependent, because this world is based on codependency, basically. So, he has this third party connection as a means of helping me to feel safer, because this is stuff that I've, when we've connected in this energetic space, the spiritual end of things, it's always about safety. And, not, I mean, okay, one of the last visions that I don't remember, one of the visions that I talked about on here before that whole thing came up and threw a wrench in my cohesive way of seeing things and whatnot. I talked about how I had this vision where basically I asked him to take his shirt off and I just walked around him and just like looked at him, right? And then as I got all the way around, I like folded myself in like under like in his arms, right? And it was that my stomach's making noise. Sorry. It was just that feeling like that the point of the vision was to show that he's a safe space for me, right? But then like the next day it changed and it became this thing where it was like it was devour me, and like that's what I said, but it was like I was finally ready to be seen, right? But then this other thing comes up and it throws a wrench in the whole plan, or my idea of, the plan or whatever. But the purpose of it was for me to come to this realization that, because everything is connected, right? So whatever their relationship is, she's applying that information to the collective. And that's how he kind of proves that he is a safe space, right? And he's not just trying to take from people that he recognizes are not his best case scenario and goal type counterpart connection kind of a thing. I think I've been breathing too much of this dog. She got all sorts. She's been in everything. She stinks. It's like there's a good chance I'm gonna have to give her a bath tonight, and I hate to do that because it's so fucking cold out there. Earlier when we went over there, it was like 11 degrees and like the real field temp was like 10 below zero. So it's like, if I do that, then we gotta get the hair dryer out. But she needs it because she smells bad. But yeah, I was petting her for a while. So anyway, but like when I said that and when I, the devour me part, it's like, it was really leaning into that point of being ready to be seen. Right? So there again, how I do that is I gotta get this thing written. So this thing comes up because I'm basically like I want the best case scenario, but at the same time, I'm not fully leaning into doing the work. So this thing has to show up to literally kick me in the ass and make me do the work. And it was very fucking successful on that end. So I've been leaning in and, I've been writing regularly. Now, the last time I figured it up, I think was like 3 days ago. And anyway, it was like 76,000 words or 163 pages. It's like, technically, content-wise, I have written a book. It is not done yet. There are still a whole bunch of stories that I have yet to include, and I have yet to write into the thing. I have like 6 different documents, so it's like that's one of the big things too. It's like when I was writing all in one, and then I got to a point at like 97 pages. It's like I don't want to go back and read that right this second. And that's one of the things that I do is revisit what I've written, and then I kind of adjust some things, and then I continue. And so I didn't want to go back to that, and so I went another topic. So I opened another document, and then started this whole other thing. And it's like, so I have like 6 of those now. And, the longest one's 97 pages. I think the one that I was working on earlier was at like 10. But it's one that I started yesterday. But like this thing had to happen to kick me in the ass and get me moving. And then it's had to show up again to basically verify that I'm still committed to this thing, right? And even in all the ways it could go wrong or turn out scary and humiliating, it's like, I don't feel like that's going to be the case, right? It's like just as many ways as this has shown up in my life nonstop. It's like, it's showing me over and over again that it's still here. It's still the thing moving me. I just have to stop running from myself in all these various ways. And that's essentially what it amounts to. So for this this vision with the Eye of Horus and him as the Eye of Horus side, because he is the container that is keeping the feminine safe, right? So where I'm still struggling to, I mean, it's not near as much of a struggle as it was before, but, because I've had these things that have shown up as reminders that there is a level of protection that I can relax a little bit and do what I need to do. Going back to the angel wings, there's a shield, right? I have some protection. And how it turns out right now is him holding space for the highest possible aspect, right? Or highest possible timeline, right? And if that's meant to be the case, right? I feel like my brain is like, I don't know if it's better coherent or least coherent or less coherent. I haven't written today. I need to, and I'm going to as soon as I'm done with this and get it posted. But like, that's part of it, is I have to hold space and believe in the highest case scenario. And while he's still operating and trying to bring it into the physical reality, part of what he's waiting on is me to show up in the physical world, right? In the actual world around him. So like I've seen it as, I get my book published and my face shows up on Instagram or something, and hey, there's a book. Suddenly there's a draw because my authentic voice is finally out there, right? And then, because I'm wanting to draw attention and have people buy the book, I gotta advertise it, right? But I was seeing it as I've been in the upper chakras and basically locked up there, hyper vigilant about everything in my life being unsafe. And now that I recognize that there is an element of safety, I'm having to basically build my own framework. And he's been, he's done it on his end as far as, he has this career and all this stuff that's going on for him. And in his doing that and building the life for himself, it has given me confidence in my own inner masculine that that's a thing that can happen, right? So, where he's the safe container and holding space for the vision, I'm also holding space for the vision, but the vision's always been there. But now I'm having to grow my roots, right? I'm having to bring what's up here in the spiritual end of things and sinking it into the earth so I can be found ultimately, but I was seeing it as he's holding the space, but I'm having to grow roots. And it's really an interesting thing that this is going on right now, and that I had this realization the other day because I have, a while back, I put water in my orchid plants and forgot about it. So I ended up with some root rot, and this one's not looking real great at the moment. It's got the least amount of root, right? Because they were all squishy and moldy, and I had to get rid of them. However, plant is still green. It's still got a stick. I don't know how much of that is viable at the moment, but it's still there, and it's still green, and it honestly kind of looks like it's got something growing there, right? So it's like, obviously I can't give up on that. Obviously something's happening, right? And the other two have a little more roots, and this one right here, yeah, you can see that it's it's gonna have flowers one day, right? And it's got like a root that's like this long. But it's like at this time that I'm realizing that what I'm doing is basically establishing my roots, growing my roots down into the earth so I can make this writing thing a reality. I have 3 of these plants, because they're again 3, that most of their roots are gone because they had root rot. Now the other 2, like I said, they still have some roots. That one has more than the one over there, but the other one, it's sunken to the orchid bark enough that I'm not pulling it out. But it's got a better root situation. But it's like these plants are trying to regrow their roots at the same time I'm working on growing my own roots, right? And sinking them into the dirt. Into the earth space. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know, it's just the way everything's coming together. It's like, this is the story, right? I've committed my love and career over to the universe multiple times, and it would make sense that for that to be realized, it is in a means that brings the 2 together, right? So the thing that has kept me going on this entire journey through the entire healing process, even when it got really ridiculously hard and I didn't want to do it, was this connection and the silly little hope, I guess, that there is something amazing out there in store for me. And one of the things that really has sunk in recently too is, I think I've talked about it too. My ex's name was Zach. And Zach means God has remembered. And that was part of what allowed me to get into that connection as well. Because I was thinking God has remembered me in the love department, right? But it's like, that wasn't what it was. God remembered the request to show me how people get in these toxic relationships and feel so incredibly stuck. And the only way to do that is to go through the experience. So that was what God remembered. And of course, we lived accordingly to that for a time. But yeah, but like, and I've worked through that. Like, that was the first part I went to, was I started with this little blip about when I was 4, right? And I've talked about that a lot on here. The thing with the movie and Somewhere Out There, the song that I got really into and that I have come to realize or believe it was a check-in from my counterpart before he incarnated. Right? So I started with that story. And then I was talking about, so it was that little bit of hope to keep me moving forward. But then also, there would come a time where I almost lost that completely, right? And, so then it took me on the path where I was mainly talking about stuff with my ex, because, a lot of the stories that I've shared in this space have been that, right? But then it's like, all right, so now we got to wander off from that. But at the same time, all these connections, like these dreams that have showed up, like one I've talked about, I wrote about it last night, again, was in 2019, I had the dream where I went and visited Tyler, and it was like he had been at the end of his life. The first time, except he was in a room with purple walls and white woodwork. The first time I went to visit him, he was on all these machines and in a coma. The second time I went to see him, both in reality and the dream, he was like, I think he just had an IV and he was talking and, he was wanting to get better, right? But then the third time I went to see him in the dream, he was out at the mailbox, leaving, and I knew it was going to be the last time that I saw him, so like I ran over and I kissed him. And he kind of like half smiled and said something, and I remember waking up and feeling like it's like I knew what he said, but as I was waking up, it's like I could feel it slipping away from me. And then by the time I woke up, it's like, but what'd he say? Right? It was just a really aggravating thing. But then in 2024, when I'm working on this healing stuff, I have this vision where I'm talking to the counterpart and a couple of his friends in his house. And I tell them about the dream. And I got stuck on that point of, but what did he say? Talking about how it was a frustrating piece. And it was like, in this vision, it's like, I could hear Tyler's voice. And of course, he's off to the right of me. And it's like, he's like right back here. Like he just came up behind me and said, he's coming. I was like, wait, what? Because it caught me off guard. And he says it again. And, I see it. Like the way I see it was, I hear him say, he's coming. And the way I heard his voice was like with a shrug. And it's like, I've seen him do that. Like I saw him do that several times in my lifetime when our connection, right? And it's like, I could hear the shrug. And in the vision, like I went over to the cabinet because I was trying to find something with his number to confirm it. And I said that it's like, I didn't actually see the number, but I imagined in the vision that I saw the number, even though I didn't really see the number. But then what happened was my phone in my actual physical space went off and had some alert that was just the number 19. And of course, that's like one of my go-to Tyler numbers and counterpart numbers. And of course, Tyler died July 19th and the counterpart's birthday is August 19th. And even that, right? So 19 is something they both share. But 7, 8, because Tyler's death had to happen before I was able to put enough of my baggage down and release it in order to be open to this other connection, right? So it's like they're very much connected for me in all the ways, right? But so my actual phone goes off and it's an alert that I don't even know what it was for, but it was just like the number 19. It's like, there it is on my phone. It's like, okay. So I got ready in my actual physical space, my actual reality. I went and got ready and took the dogs over to the cemetery. And I decided I wanted to walk past Tyler's grave, and I did. when I was going past it, just said smart ass. And it was like I could hear him laughing kind of in the same space where I had heard him say he's coming in the dream or in the vision. And so this is physical reality, but yet he's not physically here because he's in the ground, right? But yet I'm hearing him like the volume's been turned down on him. Like he's there, but the volume is just turned down. And so it's like, all right. So it's just kind of this interesting little thing. But then we got a little further. We're going back to the car. And like the last several yards over to the car, and Gidget stops to poop. And she's like the dog that rarely ever stops to poop on the leash. And yet that day she did. And while, I'm waiting on her to finish and I'm getting the bag ready, I see this truck pull in. Right? And it pulls over by the flagpole in the cemetery. So, I bag up her business and go put the dogs in the car. And then, we drive over to the shack where the trash container is. As we go past the past the truck, I look over and see that 719 is the number on the license plate of this truck in my actual reality. But I was looking for it in the vision and I didn't actually see it in the vision. But then the number 19 showed up on my phone on some kind of alert that I don't remember in my actual reality. So it was like, what the fuck's going on here, right? It's like everything's converging. It's like that's kind of the point of the whole journey too. Is just how things are converging together. And this is the story that I'm meant to be sharing, with, even as crazy as it sounds, like the stuff where it's dreams that I've had, visions that I've had, actual reality weird shit that's come up. And it's like, there's so much of it. That's like the big thing. But it's also not being afraid to address the stuff with the family and go into it at all the deepest levels of it. And, I finally got to the section I wrote through some stuff with my grandfather. I talked about 2024 being a death year. And like when I started going to the classes, I got this really strong sense of, is this a death year? And then I pulled a card called the Sister of the Seasons, which made me feel like it was going to be a death year. And then sure enough, it ended up being a death year. I talked about starting out was my uncle, and then the guy I worked with, and then the family friend that my brother always said was like another dad. And, even with that, right? So with that one, there was the dream where it was the one where the building had the orangey hue, and I am in this space. I hope she lays down and doesn't pee on anything. I'm gonna have to fill that water bowl there, hard on it. But anyway, like I'm in this space, right? So I'm on the couch, and my ex is there, and I'm aware of my ex there, and I'm like my anger is like all consuming. But then I found out I could go back into the dream. Second time I went into the dream, like my counterpart was aware that I was there, but he couldn't really see me. But he leaned closer to me and said, "If you need my help, let me know." And I said, "I feel like I need to do this on my own." Right? So then this is dream, like actual sleeping dream. But then I went back into it, and so it's kind of like vision. So there's this whole thing on that end. And then in my actual waking experience at the Celebration of Life, which was in June that year, 2024, there were the people there that the husband came over to the side of the tent that we were sitting on because it was hot and he was in the June sun, right? So the sun's cooking him. So he comes over to the other side of the tent where we're at, and he's just standing there, and he's not really doing anything or feeling like, it doesn't, like he's not trying to be creepy or anything. And yet somehow his energy feels like it's really making me uncomfortable, just like how he's there. And I think it goes back to the lack of boundaries thing. But so in my actual reality, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about how in classes, a couple different classes, we talked about you can send your energy to fill a space, right? So if somebody else's energy is an issue, you can kind of push that back. But I was trying to like work it through in my head of how I would do this, and then finally it comes to me, and I just say, "Hey, he's making me really uncomfortable. How can we make him go away?" Right? And then it was like within a few seconds, he's all at once going back over to the other side of the table and sitting down with his wife. And then it's like the discomfort. It's like you just kind of watch it, and it's like it's growing. And then all at once he's looking at his wife and he says, "We need to go." And so they like got their shit together and we're leaving. They had to go talk to Karen, the lady whose husband died, before they left. But like they left where we were at, and it started from this thing that happened in a dream, and then a dream that I went back into. But then it ended up being this thing where it's like, "Hey, help," right? And then the help makes something happen. So it's like, ooh, something's going on here, right? So it's like that is the whole point of my journey, is like how things are converging and telling that story. Because the connection is the thing that gives me hope for the thing to keep moving forward, no matter how hard or painful it's been. And then at the same time, going through the stuff like with my family, that's going to be a lot. There's a lot of it. It's just, that's why I just have to accept that in order to get where I want to be, where I've been has to go. It's just not an option for it to come with me at all. And on that end, it's like, I'm hoping, when I have the big disposable income and all that stuff, when I go to venture on to the next place, there's a part of me now that this dog's back. It's like, if I'm going to work with this dog, then I kind of I'm going to feel bad if I work with her just to have to leave her with my toxic family. But at the same time, for who I am here to sort of be that comforting, nurturing energy for the dogs, right? And she's included in that, even though the circumstances around her being here pissed me off immensely, and because I was afraid of getting too connected to her. The biggest thing is I didn't want something else to have to get connected to. And I know that that's one of those things that's a way that my family is trying to keep me from being able to go have my own life, is now I feel connected to this dog, right? So now I'm going to want to stick around and deal with the dog, right? Because I will bond with it, you know, through this time of getting it more comfortable in this space again. That said, I don't know if I mentioned earlier, but when I took her outside on the leash, she remembers playing. And she was kind of jumping up and barking at me when I was kicking the ball for Gidge. So it's like, there are certain things where it's like, obviously we're going to have to, you know, there's a lot of work to be done, but at the same time, she does remember some of this. So that's encouraging. I just got to get her to where she will come to me and not run away from me, because that was that's the big part of what happened with her getting away, was she realized she slipped out of her collar after she got groomed, and I didn't think to check the collar after she got groomed, so she ended up slipping it. And then, you know, it's like I was trying not to lose sight of her, and then she like disappeared further, right? But I feel like there's a whole lot with that as well. You know, like I talked at the time, you know, I got the car hung up in the mud, couldn't go any further. And then I see 2 bald eagles flying overhead, and I got this really strong feeling that this wasn't for me completely. Like, yeah, there are lessons in it for me, of course there are. But the bigger underlying lesson is for my family. And maybe it was that piece for my mom when, you know, the dentist mentioned or asked about the dog. And I said, because you didn't look, right? It's like you were leaving it for me, so everybody thought it was my dog. I said, but if it was my dog, I never would have stopped. Right? And yeah, so again, it's kind of aggravating because there were like 2 different animal communicators. I don't know if I don't know where their information came from or any of that. Like, it's basically looking at the picture and trying to determine where it went from there. I don't know if there was actually a puppy anywhere along the line or not. However, I know this dog's been, you know, she's hella spooked. And, you know, like for her to stay in this space with us, you have to have the door shut because she's used to always running, right? So she's not allowed to do that. She's going to live on a leash for a while. But yeah, anyway. Okay. And they are home, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up and then take this dog outside again because she probably got to go again because she did eat. So as always, I appreciate you. Until the next time. See ya.